All right, Shalom to the elect of Israel. Give me 1 second. All right, I want to start by giving all the praises, honor, and glory to whom it rightfully belongs, which is Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of the millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. As you see here, this says breaking Trump orders removal of photo depicting enslaved man's scars from U.S. historical sites. The Trump administration's removal of signs and exhibits pertaining to slavery is a continuation of their efforts to sanitize museums and other historical sites. And they were trying to remove this photo, and they named it "The Scourged Back." Shows the scarred back of Peter Gordon in Louisiana, 1863. And this is true. They're actually trying to do this. Here it says, you look it up. It's the New York Times and everything. From the Washington Post. Oh man, it's crazy how they charge you to just read an article, man. All right. Anyways, Independent. This came out Monday, September 15, 2025. National Park to remove exhibit of famed photographs showing former slaves scarred back, says report. The famous photo was among dozens of exhibits on slavery said to be nixed by the Trump administration. In 1863, at the height of the Civil War, all right, it just, but it says, it goes into the history of it. It says, now that photo is among dozens of exhibits about slavery at several national parks, which have reportedly been ordered removed by the Trump administration. All right. It says, according to the Washington Post, National Park Service officials have taken exception to various signs and displays at the Harpers Ferry National Historic Park in West Virginia, and George Washington's old house in Philadelphia, where the first U.S. president kept 9 slaves. All were deemed to violate Trump's executive order on restoring truth and sanity to American history in March, which ordered the Interior Department to purge national monuments and historic sites of any content that inappropriately disparage Americans past or living. That word disparage. It says regard or represent as being of little worth or belittle. So that inappropriately belittle Americans past or living. So, it's like, at this point, you should see how these, I'm going to read this. It says, the Post reported that these orders were being interpreted broadly to include information on racism, slavery, all the different stuff. It's citing anonymous sources and leaked documents. All right. But, let's just show you that, this nation is not for you Israelites. America is not for you so-called Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Latinos, Native American, and Seminole Indians. These devils do not love you. All right? They don't. That's just how it's been set up. That's how the Lord set it up. Right? And you shouldn't really care, to be honest. These are enemies anyway. But even though they try to take this down, this can never be, this can never be removed out of America's history. Everybody knows how this place began. What it began with. Everyone knows, man. And the Lord definitely is not going to forget it. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18. Starting at verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her. Her is talking about Babylon the Great, which is America. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. And this is talking about when Yahweh Shai returns and beams up his elect out of North America, all right, which he's also going to beam up the elect from all over the world, but primarily North America, all right. Verse 5, for her sins, America's sins, have reached unto heaven. Everything, all the wickedness America has done from the time it began all the way up to now, right? It says, and the Most High hath remembered her iniquities. See, the Lord remembers all the stuff that this country has done, okay? The Lord remembers it, man, you know? And there's no erasing it, okay? And however much these devils try to forget about it, because that's the thing they always tell you, forget about what happened, forget about it. Well, the scriptures say the Lord remembers iniquities. All right, the Lord remembers his places iniquities. And just type, Apostle Gabar brought this out. So like America's original sin. It says America's original sin is a metaphor for the nation's foundational and persistent issue of racism and white privilege, particularly rooted in slavery and the near extermination of indigenous people. That's something that America can never wipe away. Because every time you go back to how America began, you must remember that, you know? It's a part of it. That these devils came over here, stole, you know, blood, you know, committed bloodshed and murder and slavery, you know, to make this country that they have now, all right? But ultimately it was a part of prophecy, okay? But this can never be forgotten. But they always tell you forget about it this long time ago. You're not going to tell the Lord that, you see, because the Lord ain't going to forget no matter what. And they're going to pay. Oh, yeah, it's the book of Isaiah 14:21. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. See? You know, so you talk about it wasn't you, it was your it was your ancestors, your forefathers that did it. So what? And you are your forefathers coming back by process of reincarnation. So you're gonna pay, all right? Ultimately, you're gonna go into slavery. All right, before I get those scriptures, I want to get this. Daniel chapter 7, starting at verse 20. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, the 10 horns is talking about, you know, because you have this goes big in a nutshell. You know, you got the ancient, the beast, the fourth beast is talking about in the verse above it is the ancient Roman Empire. Then you had the old 10 horns, okay, which are, you know, basically these different Germanic tribes and all of that, right? And the different places that these Germanic tribes, you know, was around, like the Franks, the French, the Anglo-Saxons, the Britons, you know, or there, you know, the British, you know, either I think the Visigoths, Spain, you know, and we know that in the making of America, you know, French, Spain, and the British were over here, right? So it says, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell. Yeah, the 3 fell is talking about, and that, so like it says, and of the other which came up, the other which came up is talking about America, okay? And before whom 3 fell, right? Talking about the French, the Spanish, and the British, because you had the American-British War, you had the American-French War, and the American-Spanish War, right? And those were, you know, wars that that was prophesied to happen, and, you know, the making of this country. See? So it's just talking about America. It says, even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And his look was more stout than his fellows, meaning America looks down on its different European allies. Okay? So it was already prophecy that this country would be here. This was a part of prophecy. Verse 21, I beheld, and the same horn, America, made war with the saints. Right? And we know America, who was headed by who? Esau, the so-called white man, right? It says, and the same horn made war with the saints. And who's the saints? The Israelites. Okay? so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, so-called blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, Negroes, West Indians, Haitians, Latinos, Native American, and Seminole Indians. All right? And we know that, once again, the making of this country was Esau. Esau is the one that was over here fighting and killing off our people and all of that. You see, but it says, and the same horn made war with the saints. Going into when they were conquering, the Native Americans, enslaving the so-called blacks, bringing them over here, right? And what they did with the conquistadors to the Latino tribes, right? So it was already prophesied that would happen. You had the whole thing with Christopher Columbus and all of that. You had that movie Apocalypto. The scriptures talk about that time period. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, and verse 7. And it was given unto him, talking about Esau, to make war with the saints, with the Israelites, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Note I have here says, the precept we just read in Daniel says this is going into when Esau took down the Native Americans, the Latin tribes, and enslaved the so-called blacks. Because power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And this is what we see now. Esau now has rulership over the earth. He got the fatness of the earth, Job 9:24. See? So this is the history, going into it. And that's why the scriptures say, because you saw the picture of that slave, Peter Gordon. You saw his picture up there. All right? But, let's see, where is it? You can never, you devils can never, it can never be erased what you've done to our people. It can never be erased, man. The Lord is never going to forget it, and not just the Southern Kingdom, but the Northern Kingdom do, the so-called Latinos, Native Americans. The Lord ain't going to forget that. This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 12. Woe to him that buildeth the town with blood and establisheth the city by iniquity. And that's what they've done. Build a town with blood. They built America by bloodshed. America was founded in bloodshed. Numbers 35 and 33. So ye shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood defileth the land. And the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. Simple. And guess what? A lot of blood has been spilled by the tribes. Of the tribes by Esau. Revelation 17 and 6. And I saw the woman, which is America, is talking about here, drunken with the blood of the saints. See, the saints of the Israelites, Psalm 148:14. And with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Okay? Woman, so, once again, going to the slaughterings, but don't act like, this ain't gonna happen to you devils, because this is coming, bro. Slavery is coming to you devils. Just wait. You're gonna be put in chains, all of that. When Yahushua comes back, it's gonna be game time. Revelation 13, verses 9 and 10. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. And even though your president is trying to remove this can never be forgotten, what you devils did. You see? And this is going to come back to you, You devils in the kingdom are going to be looking worse than this. It says Peter, Florida, or I believe it's Florida, but it's FL 1863, also known as Gordon whipped Peter, or Poor Peter, was an escaped American slave who was the subject of photographs documenting the extensive keloid scarring of his back from whippings received in slavery. The scourged back photo became one of the most widely circulated photos of the abolitionist movement during the American Civil War and remains one of the most notable photos of the 19th century United States. See? Look, it said no, it remains one of the most notable photos of the 19th century United States. But now Trump wants to wipe it away. Okay, though, wipe it away, but you ain't wiping your judgment away, though. Okay, because it says, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. Why would John write this in the middle of all of this that he's talking about in this chapter? See? Because letting you know that these devils is going to eventually, even though you're doing all of these things, eventually they're going to go in slavery. It says, he that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. There was a patience and the faith of the saints. Okay? So they're going to get what's coming to them, man. You know, the scriptures say that Zechariah 2:8. But thus saith Yahweh of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you. For he that toucheth you, toucheth the Israelites, toucheth the apple of his eye. See? These people are messed up, you know? Verse 9, for behold, I will shake mine hand upon them, and they, talking about the heathen, shall be a spoil to their servants, the Israelites. Ye shall know that Yahweh of hosts hath sent me. See, it's not going to be a nice thing when we get, especially you Edomites, man. You're going to get it the worst. It's not going to be a good thing when we get you in slavery, man. Psalm 2, verses 8 through 9, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance. And you devils, you Edomites, man, you so-called white people, you are definitely one of the heathen nations. But this goes for all heathens. Eventually, they're going to be our possession and inheritance. And the uttermost part of the earth for thy possession. We're going to, in the kingdom, we're going to have, even the best parts of the world. Verse 9, thou shalt break them with a rod of iron. Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel. We're going to be beating down the heathen in the kingdom. It's not going to be pretty, And they're going to be working in the fields. The scriptures talk about that. The vine dressers, the plowmen, the son of the alien shall be your vine dressers, roughly paraphrasing. Isaiah 61, I believe that is. They're going to build up the kingdom. Isaiah 60. You see? You're going to get it, man. We're going to love every second of it, too. Psalm 149, 5 on down. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh be in their mouth, and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. See? This is coming. You can't erase these scriptures. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written. This honor have all his saints. Praise ye Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh. It's over for you devils, man. And then even in Ezekiel 39, and these are the type of scriptures that Christians don't deal with. They don't deal with prophecy. Like Apostle Tahar said, man, roughly paraphrasing, basically he says something along the lines of these Christians, they can't deal with prophecy because Ezekiel 39 is a prophetic chapter, right? And it even talks about after the nuclear destruction, after, it talks about after, right? That's what the Israelites are going to do after all of this world war and everything. That's what they're going to do. It's part of what they're going to do. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 9. Starting in verse 9. And they that dwell in the cities of Israel shall go forth. But that land of Israel is going to get nuked. So, it's not going to be, basically it's talking about the Israelites coming out of the chariots, because that land of Israel is going to get nuked. All right. This shall set on fire and burn the weapons, both the shields and the bucklers, the bows and the arrows, the handstaves and the spears. They shall burn them with fire 7 years, so a complete amount of time. That'll have to be literally 7 years. We'll, Lord willing, the elect will see when we get there. But one thing the Israelites are going to do is come out of them chariots and set all the, weapons on fire, in the earth. The military weapons and all that, set them all on fire. Verse 10. So that they shall, and it's going to be by way of spiritual power, as it says, so that they shall not take, so that they shall take no wood out of the field, neither cut down any out of the forests. Right? For they shall burn weapons with fire. Not going to need no wood to make fire to do it. It's going to be spiritual power. But look, this is a prophetic chapter here, and it says what? And they shall spoil those that spoiled them, and rob those that robbed them, saith the Lord Yahweh. See? Simple as that. Simple as that. Slavery. And I'm going to end it with this. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30, verse 16. Therefore all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity, all the heathens. See? The Lord is, look, man, actually, I got one more after this, but the Lord ain't going to forget. You try to, just because you wipe down or try to take away, the photo of what happened, a notable photo that basically everyone has saw. It's not going to wipe away the slavery coming for you heathen nations, man, especially Esau. All right, but it says every one of them shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil, and all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. And the last but not least, Lamentations chapter 4, 21 and 22. Rejoice and be glad, O daughter of Edom. Yeah, you so-called white people, rejoice and be glad. Because, live it up in this society. With the little minutes you got left, live it up, man. Because after this is it. That dwelleth in the land of Uz. The cup, which is slavery, also shall pass through unto thee. Thou shalt be drunken, and shalt make thyself naked. See? You're going to slavery after this, so live it up. It's almost over with, Verse 22, the punishment of thine iniquity is accomplished, O daughter of Zion. He will no more carry thee away into captivity. He will visit thine iniquity, O daughter of Edom. He will discover thy sins. Our punishment is up. We about to come up, man, So, yeah, so that's basically it, But, hey, man, we know who our enemy is. That's for sure. And our enemy is about to be under our feet. So, with that, giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Achakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, ever well. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect. Shalom to the elect.